This meeting is being recorded.
Mr. Mayor, it's 4 p.m.
Thank you so much, Mr. Clerk. I'm here. Thank everyone for being here today. This is a virtual regular council meeting held Tuesday, July 27, 2021 at 4 p.m. Mr. Clerk, would you call the roll for me, please?
Roll call vote. Roll call for the July 27th meeting. The Honorable William Bill Edwards, Mayor.
Here.
The Honorable Catherine F. Rao, District 1.
Present.
The Honorable Carmelita Gums, District 2.
Present.
The Honorable Helen Z. Willis, District 3.
Present.
The Honorable Naima Gilliard, District 4.
Here.
The Honorable Corey A. Reeves, District 5. The Honorable Councilmember Khalid, District 6.
Present.
The Honorable Mark Baker, 7.
Present.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair and Mr. Clerk. At this time, we will have an invocation and pledge of allegiance by our chaplain, Reverend Henry.
Let us pray. Dear gracious God, we thank you for the many, many blessings that you have bestowed upon us individually and collectively. We thank you for the protection you provided for every citizen, especially our leadership. For the wisdom that you have poured upon them, we thank you. For the knowledge that they have, we thank you. For every decision that must be made today, oh God, we ask that you continue to guide us in all that we do. We continue to thank you for the safety of our city, oh God. And as we continue to look ahead, we look ahead with a promise that you will always be with us. This we pray. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chaplain. Mr. Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is Roman numeral 5. It's the adoption of the council agenda.
Mayor, I move that we adopt. Are we going to adopt the consent agenda or full agenda first, Clerk? Mr. Clerk, Mr. Adams.
Yes, any changes to the full agenda?
Okay, I move that we remove items number 10, 11, and 12 per the request of the city manager. She is going to wait until we get a permanent, until our permanent park director comes in on the 9th to address these issues. I mean, not issues, but to address these contracts.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I believe you referencing items 26, 27, and 28.
Yes, I'm sorry. 26, 27, 28 from the consent agenda.
Second. We're going further.
Second.
Okay, I got you. The Ms. Jones. Ms. Jones?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to make sure that you chime in on that.
Mayor, she sent us an email.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to chime in. We do things for the record, right? Sometimes. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Just good evening, everyone. Staff would just like to have more time to review the agreement with the youth associations, with our new director coming in and having the responsibility of overseeing these associations. I think it's in the best interest of the city and for him that he have a chance to review this information and meet with those associations regarding expectations.
Thank you so much. We have a motion and a second discussion.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yes, if I have a point of personal privilege, I did send a communication to the mayor and council that we inadvertently left out the June 8th special call meeting minutes from the approval of city council meeting minutes. And I would like your and the council's indulgence to have that item added for action at the appropriate time.
I think it's one we need to do. Do we have any issues with that, council?
No.
No.
All right, I got,
Yeah.
yes, sir. What is that?
I also wanted to remove item 45 from the consent agenda.
Let me carry this motion, Mr. Khalid. I'll be right with you.
Okay.
It's been properly moved and second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk, roll call vote, please.
This is a motion to approve or to remove items 26, 27, and 28 from the agenda, as well as add the June 8th special call meeting minutes to the agenda. Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard, Councilmember Gilliard, Councilmember Reeves.
Wait a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I wasn't unmuted. I have a question because I don't understand.
Okay, we are
voting.
Ms. Gilliard, we've had discussion. It's been passed. We're in the vote.
I don't know what I'm voting for.
Adoption of the agenda with the amendments.
With all the entire agenda, the consent agenda, everything, right?
Point of order,
No.
Mayor.
Excuse me. Mr. Clerk, and let me just say it to y'all. You know, when we call for these motions and we get a second with discussion, we pass that, we call for a vote. That's what we're doing. You know, we're here in a meeting. Mr. Clerk, would you?
I understand that.
Obviously, something's wrong. Mr. Clerk, would you restate the motion? And Ms. Gilliard will allow you to vote if you choose.
The motion was a motion by Councilmember Willis, seconded by Councilmember Rao, to remove items 26, 27, and 28 from the consent agenda. And then you accepted my addition of the June 8th special call meeting minutes.
Okay. Continue to vote, please.
Councilmember Gilliard,
No.
Councilmember Reeves, Councilmember Khalid,
No.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved 4-2.
Okay. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, I have
I'm
an
sorry,
item that I
Mr.
would like
Khalid,
to
you're absolutely correct. I'm
Yes.
sorry, sir. Go right ahead.
I would like item number 45 to be removed from the consent agenda. I'm sorry, 42.
42, which one are you saying, Mr. Khalid?
Oh.
Mr. Khalid, which one are you saying?
40. 42.
42, okay. Is there any others? I'll entertain a motion. Any others?
I move
Oh,
that we.
second. I second it.
All right, Ms. Poplar move to second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Let's vote, please.
Roll call vote to remove item 42 from the consent agenda. Councilmember Rao,
Nay.
Councilmember Gums,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
No.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves, Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker,
Aye.
So
Mayor
tie.
Edwards.
This,
Mayor, you
Mayor
need to
Edwards.
vote.
Tie.
huh?
It's a tie. You have to vote, Mayor.
I understand that. I'm voting to keep it on the consent agenda.
That item is approved 4-3. I mean, that item was denied 4-3.
Mayor, I move
Mr.
that
Man, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, ma'am.
I move that we approve the regular council meeting and consent agenda for Tuesday, July 27, 2021.
Is there a second?
With
Second.
with changes. I'm sorry, with changes.
Second.
Probably second. Discussion.
I have discussion.
Go ahead, sir.
I just have two notes. The first is removing the items from the agenda removing items from the consent agenda does not remove them from the agenda. So we will still have to table items 26 and 27. My second bit of discussion is that there were two agenda items discussing what to do with our police camera revenue. And one of them went on the consent agenda and one of them did not.
Discussion, Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr. Speaker. You still have the floor.
Thank you.
All
Thank you. It would have been nice to have, we're still going to have discussion because item number 45 is still on the consent agenda, but it would have been helpful if we discussed both of the items at the same time. They are diametrically opposed to each other, and it would have been an opportunity for us to try and meet in the middle. And it's unfortunate that we didn't take that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khalid. Ms. Willis?
Mayor, just for further clarification, items that are on the consent agenda are items that you have pretty much discussed with, people that have consensus. You have gotten the consensus that those items have the votes to pass. There is no consensus for item 45. That's why it's not on the consent agenda to pass. We will discuss it. And, people have a right to vote yes or no. So we have the votes on the floor. I would like we have a long agenda. I would like, if possible, if no one else has discussion, if you call for the vote, the vote is already on the floor.
Well, let me just say in closing that the issue that you're talking about, 42, was a modification to an existing ordinance we already passed. So I didn't see the need. So at this time, there's no further.
Well, I have discussion, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I have discussion. Thank you for acknowledging me.
Yes, sir.
I just want to know if that is correct, what Madam Pro Tem just contended, because I had a different working understanding of how items end up on the consent agenda. And I didn't know that there was a consensus that was tallied prior to items going on the consent agenda.
I can answer that for you right now, okay? That's not true. All right.
Can you just for clarification, now that it's been contended and against, give clarity as to why or how items end up on the consent agenda, just for the edification of everyone else in the meeting?
Of course, the charter speaks to that, Mr. Baker. And when it comes before us, I look at the extent of the meeting, the priority of what is being added to the meeting. Is there something that could be going the next meeting, for example, that would cut down on what we have to do? Sometimes I entertain conversation from the attorney. Sometimes I entertain conversation from the city manager and others. And that's how I prepared this agenda. I do talk to, if it's an agenda item that's very important, I have some legality to it or whatever, I do talk to some of the people who may have submitted that agenda item, but I do not poll. I do not poll, and I do not tell people how to vote.
Receive. I just didn't want the public to think that we conduct the business that way.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Okay, let's vote.
This is a vote to approve the regular meeting agenda as well as the consent agenda as amended. That was a motion by Councilmember Willis, seconded by Councilmember Gumbs. Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
No.
Councilmember Reeves, Councilmember Khalid,
No.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved, 4-2.
Thank you so much. Next item, please.
Next item is an emergency ordinance. It's an ordinance declaring a state of emergency in the city of South Fulton, providing for city meetings to be held virtually, providing for an effective date, and for other purposes.
Okay, I've asked the attorney to prepare this. Ms. Hyman, Mr. Hyman, are you there?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
On that issue, please.
This item was prepared in, based on the conversations that were circulated about continuing to go virtual, and then also making sure that we were consistent with open meetings. So there needed to be an ordinance, emergency ordinance that would declare that a citywide state of emergency to allow us to continue to go virtual, as was expressed, I think, by some of the council members. So that's what this ordinance for. It's an emergency ordinance which doesn't require two reads under our charter, and similar to the governor's executive orders, it has a 30-day timetable. So the council will need to revisit this at their August 24th session to determine whether or not they want to extend it beyond the 30 days.
Right. Any questions?
Yeah, Mayor, I just would like to add, and I would like to make a motion that we approve this, but I also would like to make a motion and see if we can put some type of protocol for us to turn on our cameras in our virtual meetings. Several of residents are requesting for this to be done. I have, upon the city manager request for all of us, she asked us to look at best.
Ms. Willis, let me stop you here, because the motion on the floor is for the emergency. You can bring that back later, but I'd have to carry a vote on the emotion on the.
Well, I'm asking you, my question to you and the city attorney, can we include in this emergency order, this is concerning virtual meetings, right? Right?
It is concerning virtual meetings, yes.
Okay, so what I'm asking is, can we put in this virtual meeting ordinance that we also require for staff and city council members to turn on cameras during our virtual meetings?
I would take the first agenda first, and someone wants to make a substitute motion for what you're saying, I'll go along with that.
Because no one has made a motion at all.
I'm saying, once the motion is made on the original item, I would rather do that, and then if someone comes back and make a substitute motion for turning on our cameras, I'll accept that.
So Mayor, the motion. The reason I was speaking, because I made the motion to approve this, but my question was, can we also add in this ordinance, this emergency ordinance, to include that staff?
You're asking for a substitute motion. You're substituting what we already have.
Is that
necessary? It seems better to me to. I'm going to go ahead. This is what I'm going to do. I wish someone would move to do the original motion. If there's a substitute coming, or didn't do a substitute.
I move that we approve the ordinance declaring a state of emergency in the city of South Fulton, providing for city meetings to be held virtually.
And I would like to make a substitute motion.
Let me second that motion.
Second, and I would like to make a substitute motion.
Now let's do your substitute.
The substitute motion is to require city council persons and staff to turn on cameras during virtual meetings unless they're indisposed.
Is there a second? That fails for lack of a second. Let's vote on the original, Mr. Clerk.
We have a main motion, a motion by Councilmember Rouse, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Willis to approve. Roll call.
Mayor Edwards, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude. I am using Novus agenda. Are we not using that? Because I was in the queue for discussion.
Okay, Mr. Clee, I must apologize to you. I did look over to my right and I see you. Mr. Clerk, could you holler? What was your discussion?
It was actually a question for Attorney Hyman.
Okay.
It is my understanding that Governor Kemp ended his emergency order, which would then require us to meet in person. And so I am just wondering how any ordinance we pass at the municipal level will comport with the state law and his previous emergency ordinances and resolutions that set a ceiling for what we could do at what he did, and that we could not go beyond what he did in our COVID responses. And I think that's important because there are cities that are doing mandatory mask mandates. We had one, and then we were told that we couldn't have one. So I just want to understand what does the governor's office say about our ability to continue to meet virtually?
Mr. Hyman, I think you kind of hit on that when you had your presentation, but go right ahead.
Yes, Mayor. The original executive orders that were issued by the governor were statewide emergencies. And during the statewide emergencies, the governor's executive order would supersede or take precedent over any city ordinances. So if you remember, at one point in time, there appeared to be a potential conflict between a neighboring city and the governor's order. And eventually that got worked out with the governor's executive order prevailing. Now, since the governor's statewide emergency has been lifted, there's not a conflict. That still doesn't mean that the city can't recognize the uptick in variants, the Delta variant or other items. There are certain demographics that may play into a role. We also put in the ordinance the 7-day average, I think, as of July 21st. But the governor's order, since it is no longer executive order, no longer in effect, would not conflict, or we would have a conflict with ours.
Right. So we're not, and just to be clear, we're not conflicting with the governor's executive order because it doesn't exist. But there is a state law that requires us to meet in person. And you're saying that this emergency ordinance is allowable under state law.
That's correct. By declaring the emergency order, that would allow you to meet virtually to comply with the open meetings law.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, were we on a vote?
Yes, sir.
Let's continue to vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
I just want to clarify, this is for the original was on here, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll restate the motion. It's the main motion by Councilmember Rao, seconded by Councilmember Willis to approve the emergency ordinance.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is,
before we go on and approve the next minutes, I wanted to know what was the minutes that Corey asked us to add here, because he said he wanted us to add some minutes that was inadvertently left off of the agenda.
I think he did that, but could you restate it, Mr.
Yes.
Clerk?
Yes, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, we did add with the approval of the council agenda, the June 8th special call meeting minutes. So I will announce those as well.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, go on, Mr. Clerk.
Approval of the city council meeting minutes. Request council approval of the regular meeting minutes from the May 25th, 2021 meeting. Request council approval of the work session minutes from the July 14th, 2021 meeting. Request council approval of the zoning public hearing minutes from the July 14th, 2021 meeting. Request council approval of the special call meeting minutes from the July 12th meeting, and request council approval of the June 8th minutes from the special call meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and by, I think, Ms. Willis and second by Ms. Gums. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I know Councilmember Reeves is on the call, but he did submit a letter to the clerk's office regarding the June 8th special call meeting minutes.
Yes.
He states that he was on the call, but he was not able to vote. Although he can't change his vote, he wanted the email entered into the record to indicate his support for the two items that appeared on that meeting agenda.
Mr. Hyman, Mr. Hyman,
Yes,
do you find that to be in order?
it's not a vote. It really, to me, just falls in almost in a public comment category.
That's right. Okay, let's vote, please.
Roll call vote to approve all meeting minutes. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
No.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved 6-1.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is public comment. Mr. Mayor and Council, we did receive a total of 25 comment cards by the deadline. We did have 7 individuals that desire to speak live to you this afternoon. Believe some of them are in the meetings. So as I call your name, will you please unmute yourself, state your name and address, and you will be allowed 2 minutes to provide your public comment. The first speaker is Mr. Brian Winder from District 3. Mr. Winder, are you on the call? The next speaker is Miss Nancy Sargent from District 6. Ms. Sargent, are you on the call? The next speaker is Drew Demand, who lives in District 7. Mr. Demand, are you on the call? Next speaker is Miss Camilla Johnson Moore, who lives in District 3. Dr. Moore, are you on the call?
I am on the call. Can you hear me?
Yes, we have.
Yes.
I will start and read my comments into the minutes. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon regarding my opposition to the approval of the following zoning petition: Z2102, Z2103, Z2104 with companion variance Z2105. As a certified urban planner for over 35 years, my objections are both personal and professional. Based on my professional experience, these developments are not in compliance with the city's existing land use plan. Thus, these developments will continue to allow the oversaturation of warehousing in close proximity to residential neighborhoods with the creation of a mixed-use development which fails to address transportation requirements, thus setting up the creation of empty retail and office space. If approved, these developments could result in the decrease in residential property values of 11% or more, not to mention the environmental impact that warehousing brings to adjacent residential neighborhoods. So here's my questions for Mayor and Council. Why have a land use plan if it's not going to be followed? To what extent will you sacrifice the residential character and integrity of our neighborhoods within this city, which may result in the decline of our residential property values? At what point will you continue to allow the encroachment by surrounding cities of undesirable developments, which will impact the ability of the city to have desirable developments in the future? Finally, when is enough of turning a beautiful city, lush with greenery, wildlife, and other assets, which encourage us to move here in the first place, to become known as a city of warehousing? Mayor and Council, for those of us who fought for the creation of the city and your right to serve this as elected officials for us, we kindly ask that you deny all 4 of these petitions and ask that Mayor Pro Tem Helen Willis takes the lead on this, since she should be sensitive to the warehousing that came behind her residential development, in which it had an environmental negative impact on her community. And those are the end of my comments. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Good seeing you. Appreciate your comments. Next.
The next speaker, Ms. Valerie Pratt. Are you on the call? Valerie Pratt. Next speaker, Ms. Sonia Patterson. Sonia
I am
Patterson.
present. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, good evening, everyone, Mayor and the council and everyone else. My comment is regarding Z21002. City of South Fulton residents deserve more than the continuous barrage of warehouses, barbershops, nail shops, and hair salons. We deserve more than the addition of community unit dwellings, and we need to understand more about how these proposed changes will impact our community. I urge you to vote no on these proposals. How will these warehouses improve the quality of life, City of South Fulton's home and business owning, tax paying, and vote of these city business owning and tax paying voting residents? I have attended numerous meetings with other like-minded City of South Fulton residents that feel like our new city is just being land grabbed by money-hungry developers who most certainly do not have our best interests at mind. We do not want to be overrun by warehouses or nail shops or multi-unit dwellings, newly constructed homes below $300,000, or wing shops. I wonder if those who are bringing these cases for amendment would be happy with these same developments being introduced into their communities. We want shops that most of us travel to in Douglasville, Fayetteville, downtown, Smyrna, and even Alpharetta. We are taking our money outside of our brand new community because this community is not meeting our needs. And that's a shame for our tax base. People in our community are beginning to wake up more and more every day to the knowledge that they can impact their communities by getting their voices heard. I happen to know that the majority of us that I've spoken with at meetings and online are done with all the warehouses in the area. We do not want our motto to be the city of warehouses. Please say no to any more and get involved with the neighboring communities, as the speaker before said, so that we can put a cap on this. We want to have our prime high-end businesses that hire from our rich pool of educated, experienced, and highly desirable and highly hireable local candidates and other higher salaries to support higher value homes. We want higher value homes in our communities to drive up our tax base and strengthen and improve our schools. We want our empowered and fair police force who will protect our peace and provide support and safety from crime in a timely manner. We want to deter crime and also make criminals know to move on someplace else. We want recreational parks to walk our dogs for exercise and take our families to. We want community centers to take art and cooking classes in. Let's spend some time and energy on these developments and less on warehouses. There are so many warehouses not even being used on the FIB corridor as well as other areas. We really don't want a bunch of multiple unit dwellings and warehouses and even hair salons and these things. We want premium retailers, restaurants to come to this city, and these proposals are not facilitating that vision. Please say no. To honor the faith placed in you as a representative of the people, I urge you to vote to reject these proposals and help us get some traction on some of the other areas of development as I've described above. Let's have the conversations we need to have and understand what people want to see for this new city. And then let's follow up on that with the right action. Thank you for the time for the comment.
Thank you, Ms. Patterson. We also have Brian Winder. I understand you're on the call now. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, this is Brian Winder. I live at 4680 Janice Drive in College Park, 30337. My main concern is I've been living here 20 years and I have stormwater comes off the street and it has basically eroded a lot of my property. It's alongside the foundation of my home. I've called several times to get this addressed. Before this was actually the city of South Fulton. And now with this new leadership in, I'm hoping to have this addressed. Also, I'd like to address about the cemetery that is right down the street on Roosevelt, close to Buffington, that has been vandalized several times. And it was noted on the news several years ago that there would be some security measures to prevent that from happening, because it is a disgrace, even though I don't have any loved ones in that particular cemetery, but it is an eyesore. And also a lot of the debris from the headstones have made their way at times close to the streets. So I would like to just have those items addressed, especially the part about the erosion that I'm incurring from the result of stormwater. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and Council, that leaves us with 23 minutes left. I will proceed through the remaining written comments.
Go right ahead, sir.
First one is from Teola Porch, who lives on Jones Road in District 3. And she states excessive speeding on Jones Road by the guys that do the sliding videos. Maybe one of those traffic monitors they have at the schools. Next is Nancy Sargent, who lives on Britley Terrace in District 6. She states, the only people who get a $150 speeding fine are those who are breaking the law, which is not okay with me. $150 will cause people to slow down. I do my best not to drive on Old National because few, if any, people drive the posted 45 miles per hour speed limit. On Herschel Road, I have had people pass me and continue speeding by driving the spaces between the speed bumps. I support speed bumps on Old National in our communities, Orley Terrace, Schofield Road, and anywhere people continuously drive over the speed limit. I support money from cameras, speeding fines, not only support the police department, but the citizens in the city of South Fulton. Next is from Drew Demand, who lives on Gordon Street in District 7. Regarding the use of traffic camera funds, I stand with Councilmember Khalid. This money needs to go to a broad range of public safety measures and infrastructure rather than enriching the police. What our city desperately needs is pedestrian infrastructure, from sidewalks to safe crosswalks to speed tables and other traffic calming measures. Furthermore, it sets a depressing precedent that in 2021, South Fulton, of all places, sees fit to arm the police with an expensive tank. That vehicle will not be used to keep people safe. That's not what they're for. Frankly, it's a travesty, an embarrassing move in a city that otherwise has a pretty progressive agenda. We should definitely reprioritize public safety, informed by what 2020 and frankly, most of the last decade laid bare about policing in the U.S. Next is from Valerie Pratt, who lives in Atlanta. I would like to speak on behalf of the Georgia Home Builders Association and our members regarding the proposed ordinance against detached single-family build to rent. Next is Isabel Coulier, who lives on Pamplona Place in District 6. Any and all monies the city gets from the speed cameras in school zones must be spent to provide safety measures around schools, not go to the police. The police should have a separate and distinct budget line of its own. Next is James Carmichael, who lives on Beethoven Circle in District 7. Please use the money collected from those speeding tickets to finish the sidewalks on Old National Highway. We need speed bumps, but I know that if we build them, it will cut into the need for speed cameras. We don't need another tank or military hardware. Signed, a 40-year taxpayer living in Old National Highway corridor. Next is Pamela Harris, who lives on Lyons Avenue in District 1. City Council voting in city camera voting on how to spend speed camera monies will be spent tomorrow. It is my understanding that the additional monies, over $3.5 million, will be given to police and fire departments. Your constituents would like those funds to be used for public safety funds. Those allocations should be earmarked for speed bumps, sidewalks, or crosswalks. Those $3.5 million in funds should be moved to the much needed public safety sidewalks, crosswalks, speed bumps, etc. Projects, since the current camera funds are being used for the police department. Next is Avery Mcdougall, who lives on Blazing Trail in District 3. The police department should not receive all the funds generated. The camera were installed on the basis of safety. Money should be allocated for speed bumps and sidewalks. Let's take personalities, conflicts out of doing what's best for the city of South Fulton. Next is P.A. Rogers, who lives on Diane Drive in District 3. I am opposed to another warehouse in District 3. Next is Doreen Lawson, lives on Southland Court. Is a non-resident, lives in East Point. Build the city hall or improve outdoor recreation areas. And next is Clyde Sampson, who has submitted several reports for zoning. It's Clyde Sampson, who lives on Sable Chase in District 5. He states, please go back to public meetings. The process for public comments is very confusing. For some meetings, you have to send an email, and some you fill out a form online. Then the deadlines for the submissions are different. It needs to be one process for all meetings, and live meetings will solve the problem. He also states regarding Z21011, please deny change of zoning for 0 Estes Drive. This development would bring an increase in traffic that our infrastructure cannot handle. The increased traffic mixed with Buffington Road widening will make it impossible to make a left turn. There is no traffic light plan for Estes or Ravenswood. And the rest of the comments come from Ms. Patterson, who spoke earlier. That completes it.
Next, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Clerk.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Next item.
Next item is item 6. Public hearing regarding a request for alcohol license revocation. Cigaros of Georgia, LLC, doing business as Cigaros. Police Department.
Police.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. So the body heard the evidence regarding Cigaros, and certain measures were put in place. And it's my understanding management at the facility elected to give up its alcohol license or right to it. So we were just bringing that before the body for a vote.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion. Can everyone hear me?
Yes,
sir.
I move that we approve the revocation. I move that we approve the request for alcohol license revocation for Cigaros of Georgia, LLC, doing business as Cigaros, per the request of our police.
Is there a second?
So move.
It's been second. Any discussion?
I have discussion.
Go right ahead.
It's my understanding that this establishment did not pay their taxes for 2 years.
That's correct.
Did they receive, or are they eligible to receive any American Rescue Plan or federal or CARES Act money?
Who are you putting your question to, Mr. Khalid?
I guess I would be putting it first to Mr. Pike, who did the first disbursement of that, and then to Ms. Sadler-Jones, who will be giving us recommendations on how to do the second disbursement.
I'm trying to wrestle with the relevance because this is a revocation, and Meadows has already told us that the guy gave up his rights. So, I mean, that could be another discussion, but right now we're in the fact that we're going to revoke this license.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm in the queue.
Oh, I know you are. I just want to make it, I'm going to the queue.
Mayor, are you recognizing the queue?
Yes, I am. Give me a minute. Ms. Rao is next. Ms. Rao?
Yes, a question. Is this, Chief Meadows, is this necessary? Because it's my understanding that this business is now closed.
The business is closed, but what we were trying to avoid was him coming back at a later date and reclaiming his liquor license or his rights to it. And so we weren't sure what the status was of the lease agreement with the property owner, or we haven't received any verification from it. And so we were just trying to make sure that the license would not be renewed in the event that something did happen with the business moving forward.
And that's what's on the floor.
Right.
And I understand that, but I don't. So you don't have any information about this site because the license is limited to the address, the current address, right? Is it another tenant?
I'm not familiar with whether or not
another tenant is in there opening up in September.
Okay. I just wondered if it was necessary. That was really my question.
Yeah, I understand. Ms. Willis, and then we'll vote. Ms.
Yes,
Willis?
if the council could recall, we did get, yes, I'm here.
Yeah, go
Can
ahead.
you not hear me?
I hear you.
If the council can recall, this revocation came before us 2 months ago. And I requested and made a case that we should allow, and the person, the business owner came before the council and said that he was in a process of applying for assistance. Let me say this. And we requested that we give him an extension of 30 days. But because we did not have a meeting in June, he got more than the 30-day extension. And so this is the second time it has come before council, and we did give the business owner an extension so that he could try to. He is very forward and very candid about trying to get assistance. What happened, I don't know, but at this point, we're beyond the 30 days. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Clerk. Vote,
Yes, sir. This is a motion to accept the revocation of Cigaros. A motion by Mayor Pro Tem Willis, second by Councilmember Reeves. It's a roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard. Councilmember Gilliard. Councilmember Reeves. Councilmember Khalid. Councilmember Khalid. Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved. The revocation.
Next item, please.
Next item are the rezoning, variance, and modification cases for presentation only. The first item is Z20-008. This is council to consider a rezoning from AG1 to CUP for a property located at 7195 Butner, 0 West Stubbs, and 3315 West Stubbs Road. This is located in District 2, and this was deferred from the May 25th regular council meeting.
I'll entertain a motion.
I have a question. I'm sorry. I have a question, and I'm just getting into Novus. So I'm in Novus now.
Go right here. What's your question?
I wanted to ask Councilwoman Gums whether or not the new owner have they talked at all about what they plan to bring?
What?
D.R. Horton owns the land now.
Councilwoman Gilliard, as I told you earlier, to explain to you that they have no interest at this point in time pursuing the senior housing, and they will be coming back to the community for 2 community engagement meetings since it is changing. So at this time, this will be deferred. So my motion is to have this deferred until the next meeting where they're able to do the 2 community engagement meetings.
Okay, I really wasn't referring to the senior homes because we had already talked about that. I was just wondering about number 1 and 2, or rather number 7 and 8. So now I see that that you're deferring it. So okay, thank you.
Your motion is deferred to both, Ms. Gons. Is that what you're doing?
Yes, all 3 items if they're all there, or is it 2?
Would you state them for the record, please?
One moment.
Would you like me to do it, Councilmember Gums?
Yes, please.
Yes, Councilmember Gums wishes to defer item Z20-008, which I just read, as well as Z20-009, which is council to consider a rezoning request from AG1 to SH for property located at 7195 Butner, 0 West Stubbs and 3315 West Stubbs Road. Also, CV 20-001. This is council to consider a concurrent variance on the senior age requirement from 62 to 55. This is companion legislation to Z20-009.
There a second?
Second.
Properly moved and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote, Mr. Clerk.
This is a roll call vote to defer this item to the next meeting. Is that correct, Councilmember Gums?
Until they're able to get the community engagement meeting scheduled. Is the developer not on the call?
Yeah, but this is not a zoning.
Oh, okay.
They've had that last time.
That is correct. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay, I so noted.
To the next meeting.
Okay. Let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis. Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Thank you. Those items were deferred to
Okay,
the next
item.
meeting.
Next item.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
What's your point of order?
Yes, sir. Thanks for acknowledging me. I just want to know if we can defer without giving a date. I think we were told we have to give a date or it has to come back the next council meeting. Can Attorney Hyman opine?
I thought we
If
had,
we just-
we'll let him opine though that you were perfectly right. Mr. Hyman, go right ahead.
I believe the motion was that she was going to defer to the next meeting.
Right.
The next regular.
Well, it was said until they are prepared, I think, and that's why.
Well, let's clear it up, Mr.
And then she corrected and said
Yeah.
the next meeting, if I was mistaken, sir.
Ms. Gums, are we correct in assuming that's what you said?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. So it's the
Okay,
next
so moving forward, we do have to have a deferral date, or it is the next meeting.
I think you're correct.
Yes, sir.
I think you are correct.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you for your point of order. All right, next item.
So, Mayor, can I make a comment? Because I want to make a motion to defer some of my items for District 3.
Well, I asked the clerk to call the next item.
They are my items.
They are yours. Which ones do you want to defer?
May I make a comment before I
Okay.
make the motion?
Go ahead.
Because what I would hate for us to do is to go through the whole zoning case if I'm going to defer at the end of the day.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I want to first of all thank residents who sent in comments. It wasn't a lot. And that's a testament to me making sure that I do community engagement. And we've had several meetings concerning this warehouse that is not located in the city of South Fulton. That's the misinformation that has been put out. It is in East Point. We have had several meetings concerning this warehouse, and to do nothing is not an option for me, but to protect our residents from being impacted, like I am personally being impacted by Union City's Coca-Cola Sales Center, is everything that I will do for my residents. Unlike Union City, East Point and College Park are two municipalities, and America can attest to this, that do come to our city and work with the people who are impacted in the area and the council members, and even talk with the mayor to make sure that our residents are not impacted. If the comprehensive development plan that we currently have is to protect our residents, and if it's in our best interest, what I do not understand is why the comprehensive development plan calls for future land use residential to neighboring communities that have industrial property. we should not have residential communities zoned next to our neighboring communities that have industrial property. That was a miss on the person or the persons who put together our current comprehensive development plan, and it needs to be changed.
Let me just say this. This is not, we had a public hearing. This is not a public hearing. You'll have an opportunity to do that. What I would like to know now, if you're going to defer, is to make the motion to defer, and then we'll get a second.
So let me ask you this, Mayor. Would you like for me to go through, let them go ahead and present everything concerning this warehouse, and then let the public hearing go through, then let me give my comments, and
What I would like to see is what happened with Ms. Gunn. And that was, she pointed out 3 items, and she said she wanted to defer them. We voted on the deferral and we moved on.
So my items that I want to point out is that this warehouse is not in the city of South Fulton. What I would like for the developer to do is have a community meeting, and hopefully that certified urban planner who lives in my district, who never showed up to any of the meetings that we've had, will show up.
Okay.
Let's
not do that. Let's not do that. I'm just saying you got 4 items here. And I'm saying either you're going to defer all 4 of them, or which ones you want to hear.
What I am saying, Mayor, is that the point that I am trying to make is the developer here for the
It doesn't matter. They can't speak.
Z21002, because I can approach it both ways.
If they hear Ms. Wood, they can't speak.
What I'm trying to do, Mayor, if you will let me get my point out, I can either go through this whole zoning case, or I can ask them, are they willing to do a community meeting and defer this?
And I'm telling you that that's not true. I'm telling you that we're here to make a decision as to what you're going to do on the cases before us.
No,
we're not here to entertain the dialogue between you and a developer.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Go ahead and do the hearing. And it's because I want the people who are here to hear everything that's going on with this case, and then I'll make a decision whether I'm going to defer.
What hearing are you?
This is the next warehouse.
We did community concern, public concerns. This is not a hearing. We did the hearing last meeting.
What I'm saying to you is that we're going to decide. Okay, so you're saying let's go ahead and call it.
Absolutely, call up or down.
And in discussion, I can go ahead and make my comments.
No, you're not. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. Either you're going to vote this up or down or whatever you're going to do. All right. Then we're going to move on. If you got something else going, we'll get it whenever if you defer it, we'll do it at that time. But we're not going to do that today.
Yeah, I'm asking you a question.
Yeah. And I made it. That's my answer.
No, that's not my question that I'm asking you.
Okay. Let me ask you this. What is your choice? What is your privilege on these 4 items?
My question that I'm asking you is, do you mind asking the developer if he is willing to do a community meeting? If he's willing to do a community meeting, I'll defer this to the next council meeting.
Yes, I would, because I don't do that to nobody else.
I'm in the queue, Mr. Mayor.
I hear you. I'll get to you.
You said you don't do what?
No, we're not doing.
So you don't mind?
What I mind is this: we set this policy about having public hearing on a certain time, and then we'll have what we have here today, the cases at a different time. And at that time, after public hearing, we should be prepared to vote, or we should be prepared to defer, whatever you case, but not to make a case for whatever the issue is today. Now, you can defer these things in 30 days, come back, and developer can say anything they want to. But today, I need to know yay, nay, or defer.
Okay, so let me defer this warehouse to the next council meeting.
Give me the number.
And that would be number Z21002.
Okay.
And I will ask all community members to come to my community meeting concerning this.
So your motion is defer.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I'm giving you the numbers of everything I want to defer, so we don't have to go through.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. And so I want to go ahead and defer Z21002. Let me make sure I have that right. Okay. And then I want to go ahead and defer the Z21004 and ZB21005.
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment about
We will
Z21002.
we will catch you after her motion has been second or not, and will allow you to have a discussion, Ms. Gilliard.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so is there a second?
I'm deferring these three cases until the next council meeting.
Is there a second?
So move.
I think was that Mr. Reed?
And then I'm going in the queue, Mayor, for my discussion,
Yes,
okay?
sir.
If y'all would let me run this meeting, we probably get a little faster. It's properly moved in second. This is discussion. And
Yes.
Ms. Gilliard, you're up.
I think that there is confusion in terms of the way Z21002 is written. I think that is the problem, because it states to consider a rezoning at such and such a drive for the purpose of constructing a warehouse. So it really makes people think that the city of South Fulton is constructing a warehouse when that is not the case. Isn't that true, Councilwoman Willis?
Yes, and that's exactly what I was trying to explain, but I'll wait till I have discussion.
I just wanted to bring that point up, that is confusing. Because it makes it seem that we're doing something we're not doing.
That speaks directly to the deferment, and I will allow that conversation.
Okay, I'm done.
All right. Then I have Ms. Willis, you're back.
Yes. Not only Mayor does that, and Councilmember McGill, thank you for clarifying that. It's exactly right. The way that it's worded, it does give people the impression that the city of South Fulton is allowing a developer to construct a warehouse, but also there is misinformation being put out that we are allowing a warehouse in the city of South Fulton. So I'm going to end my discussion by saying the reason I have deferred all of these zoning hearings, because what I am going to do is have a District 3 development meeting, and I'm going to invite all of these developers to come and explain all of the zonings that is on here and give all of the facts. If you live in District 3, please make it your business to attend. If you don't live in the district and you have an interest, please make it your business. But what we got to do is stop the misinformation.
Okay. I'm gonna close out the.
Thank you.
I'm gonna close out discussion, Mr. Clerk. Will you reiterate the motion?
Yes, it's a motion to defer to the next regular council meeting, item Z21-002, item Z21-004, CV21-005. That was motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Willis, seconded by Councilmember Reeves.
You said 005?
CV21-005.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead, Ms. Clerk. Let's get the roll call vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Ms. Rao.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That motion was approved. Those items are deferred to the next meeting.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is item 11, Z21-003. Council to consider a rezoning at 4295 Roosevelt Highway for the purpose of constructing an office and zoning consolidation. This is located in District 3.
So zoning for Z, this is the one for U21001. Council to consider permit for 3395 Roosevelt Highway for a barber and beauty salon. I would like.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. It's item 11. This is
to move that we deny this request.
No, this is the wrong one. We're talking about 4295 Roosevelt. Item 11.
Number 11, Ms. Willis.
So when I asked for us to be deferred, I called
you didn't call it up. You didn't call that.
Yes, you called the
Yes,
three
I did.
items. You
Yes, I
called
did.
10 and 12.
Right.
Oh, I thought I called Z21003, but if I did not, let's go ahead and defer that one until the next council meeting, because I want to give, well, let's go ahead. I'm going to move and I'll make my discussion point
Okay, is there a second?
for that. So I'm going to move that we defer that to the next council.
Properly moved by Ms. Willis and second by Mr. Reeves. Discussion, please. Ms. Rao, you in the
My discussion is that this was put out that this is against the land use plan, and this was put out that this is a warehouse. This is not a warehouse. This is not against our land use plan. This is a office building that is coming to the community, and then it's an expansion of a business that's already there. And so I would ask that you all attend the District 3 community meeting. I'm going to invite the developer or the business owner to the meeting to show you what is coming to the community. And I will also put it in my newsletter that I sent out. Again, there was misinformation that was put out. This is not a warehouse, nor is this anything against the land use plan. Thank you.
Is there a second?
Yes, sir.
I'm in the queue.
I just want to make sure I have a second. It's okay. Ms. Rao is in the queue and Ms. Gilliard.
Okay.
Ms. Rao?
I don't have anything because it's deferred.
Okay, Ms. Gilliard.
I just wanted to say that the comments that were made were related to 002. It was about the warehouse. It wasn't about the one that we're talking about now. So that wasn't misinformation.
Okay. All right, let's
Mayor?
vote. Let's vote, please.
Yes, Mayor.
Let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously to defer to the next meeting.
Mr. Clerk, hold a minute. Let me say this. Obviously, it's a misunderstanding on how we do something and how it processes, because we do have public hearing. I want to make sure that on all of these things. So when we come to this point in juncture in our deal, we either voting up, down, or whatever we need to do. But let me tell you what's the bad part if we don't follow what we preach. We are allowed to say everything, but you're not allowed to give the people a right to rebut. That's why I try to stay away from the conversation until the appropriate time we can have it. And then people in the audience or whoever in the community have a time to rebuttal. I hope we can understand that, but this is not the time for you to state your case. All right. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next one.
Next item is item 13, U21-001. Council to consider a use permit at 3395 Roosevelt Highway for a barber and beauty salon. This is located in District 3.
And I'm moving that we deny.
Is there a second? Properly moved to second. Discussion. Hearing none, let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Mayor, are you looking at the queue?
Yeah, sure, there's nothing in it.
Okay, because you're not giving people an opportunity to have discussion. I was in the queue. I'm not sure what's going on.
Well, I don't. You have anything in your queue, Mr. Clerk?
no, not
So
present.
do we need to start raising our hands in reactions and putting it in the queue?
I think that for safety reasons, I think Mr. Clerk, can you acknowledge them if I don't have them in the queue?
Sure.
Yeah. So you were in queue for discussion
Yes.
on this item.
Yes.
You've already made a denial.
Okay, but discussion
ahead.
needs to talk. The barbershop and beauty salon, I'm not really sure how this got through, but we have plenty of barbershops and beauty salons in the area. I would entertain if this developer would like to just bring something else to the area that we don't have. Thank you.
Clerk, let's vote.
I registered a yes for Councilmember Rao. So Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That motion to deny was approved.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 14, M21-005. Council to consider a modification at 0 Rivertown Road for the purpose of developing estate homes. It's located in District 4.
Ms. Gilliard?
I think that, well, not think, but I know that this is going to be an excellent project coming to the district. It will do a lot to increase home values and hopefully generate some mixed use development. And the developer has done everything that they were supposed to do. So I would really appreciate your vote.
So your recommendation is yes?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second to our motion?
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? I'm looking at my queue. If there's any hands raised, Mr. Clerk, did you know of?
I do not see any.
Okay, then we'll vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums, Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved unanimously.
Okay, next item, please.
Thank you.
Next item is item 15, M20-001. Council to consider a modification at 5280 Old National Highway for the purpose of expanding a restaurant. This is located in District 5.
Councilwoman Reeves,
I move that we deny M20-001.
is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? None in my queue. Any raised hands, Mr. Clerk?
No, sir.
Let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That motion was approved 7-0 to deny.
Thank you, sir. Next item.
Next item is item 16, M21-001. Council to consider a modification at 3850 Flat Shoals Road to allow for a barber, beauty, and nail salon. This is located in District 5.
Councilman Reeves,
I move that we deny M21-001.
Second.
properly moved in second. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, you see any?
No, sir.
Okay, let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That motion was approved unanimously to deny.
Okay, next item.
Item 17, Z21-007. Council to consider a rezoning at 5275 Old National Highway for the purpose of opening a tire repair shop. This is located in District 5.
Councilman Reeves,
I move that we deny Z21-007.
Second.
Second.
properly moved in second. Any discussion? Anything on your end, Mr. Clerk?
No, sir.
Let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That motion was approved 7-0 to deny.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is item 18, Z21-011. Council to consider a rezoning at 0 Estes Road for the purpose of building a townhouse community. This is located in District 5.
Councilman Carees,
I move that we deny Z21-011.
Second.
properly moved in second. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk, you got any?
No, sir.
Let's vote, please.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That motion was approved unanimously to deny.
Okay, next item, please.
Item 19, M21-006 and CV21-006. Council to consider a modification and concurrent variance at 0 Sonoya Road for the purpose of building a mixed-use apartment complex. This is located in District 7.
Okay. Mr.
Yes.
Baker? Dr.
Yes,
Baker?
sir. Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor. I just like to say, I would like to make a motion to approve this. I want it to be said on the record that the requests that were made were already taken care of and revised, as well as clearly we didn't have any comment against this development in public comment or any emails after this meeting. So I really appreciate the development. I look forward to it. I'd like to make a motion to approve, and I really appreciate my colleagues voting in favor as well.
Okay, is there a second?
So move.
Second.
This is a second by Mr. Reeves. I think I heard. Discussion, do I have anything? Nothing here. Do you have anything, Mr. Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay, let's vote, please.
Roll call vote to approve. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is number 20, U21-004. Council to consider a use permit at 2220 Jonesboro Road for Salon Suites. This is located in District 7.
Dr. Baker?
Yes, sir. Thank you for acknowledging me again. I appreciate it. I want to say thank you to the public comments from last meeting. Mr. Michael Venable in particular hit it right on the head with this one. And I never had an opportunity for actually any conversation with the developer before this came or with this business, but I like to make a motion to deny it. There's too many gray areas and we don't know the element that we could bring into our city or my district. And I support it. Thank you.
Who's the second by?
So move, Corey Reeves.
Corey Reeves. Okay, it's properly moved to second. Any discussion? I see none on my end, Mr. Clerk.
No, sir.
Okay, let's vote, please.
Roll call vote to deny. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye. Thank you.
Motion to deny is approved unanimously.
Next item, please.
Next item is formal approval of the consent agenda. We removed item 26, 27, and 28. So we're asking for formal approval for item 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, and 42.
So
No,
moved.
I have some comments.
Okay,
About.
there is a motion. Let me get a
Okay.
second.
So
Motion by Ms. Willis. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Rao. Okay, this is discussion, Ms. Gilliard, you can speak.
I think it's number 33. Is it 33? Give me just a second. Is it 33 or 36? Never mind. It was 36 and I needed some additional information, but I got it. So,
Okay.
so that's okay. I understand what it's for.
Thank you, Ms. Gilliard. Is there, I see no comments on my side, Mr. Clerk.
No, sir.
Let's vote, please.
Roll call vote to approve the consent agenda as amended. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
I have to say no, because that's the one where we couldn't, where Councilman Khalid could not address what he wanted to address.
Point of order.
Okay, that's a no.
Okay.
Okay, no.
Yes. Next, Ms. Clerk.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
No.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved 5-2.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is previous agenda items. Item 43 is the second reading and request council approval of FY21 budget amendment number 3, finance.
Finance, you have anything? Anybody from finance?
Excuse me. I'm here. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have nothing to add. You have the budget amendment before you as previously read, and no items have changed.
Okay, I think there was a motion from Ms. Willis. Is that right?
Yes, I said so move.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved in second. We're in discussion. Nothing on my end, Mr. Clerk.
No, sir.
Okay, let's vote.
Roll call vote to approve. Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard, Councilmember Gilliard, Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid,
No.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item is approved.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 44, second reading. Request council approval of an ordinance to amend Title I Administration, Chapter 3, Mayor and Council, Section 13008 and 13009, designated as reserved under the City of South Fulton Code of Ordinances to provide for a plan of defense for officers and employees, payment of claims and judgments, and the selection of outside counsel. This was sponsored by Councilmember Rao.
Councilman Rao.
Mayor.
Let me get that call. Councilwoman Rao, I'll get you. Go ahead.
Okay, I am move that we approve the reading. We'll approve the ordinance.
I'm requesting a substitute motion, please.
Let me get the first one then.
So moved.
Properly moved in second.
I
Discussion.
requested a substitute motion.
Okay, what's your substitute?
A substitute motion for us to and before I make the substitute motion, do we have to vote on a second reading, or do we have to just have it
It's my
read?
understanding we don't, but I'll let Mr. Hyman speak on that.
Under any action that's on the agenda that requires positive action would require a vote, in my opinion, because our ordinance requires 2 reads, and so it's on our agenda in order for you to evidence your approval of this ordinance. I believe you'd have to vote.
Yeah.
Mayor, and attorney Attorney Hyman, is my understanding, and I would ask that you defer to Robert Rules of Order, that an ordinance has to be read twice, but it doesn't have to be voted on the second read. I just want to.
I agree with you.
Point of order, but we have a second.
Right. So what's your substitute?
My substitute is that we hold this until the next council meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Khalid. Let's vote on the substitute first. Discussion. Is there any discussion?
I have discussion.
I have Councilmember Gilliard.
Ms. Gilliard, this is on the substitute now, okay?
The substitute, Mayor, can you repeat the substitute so she can
I
understand?
will have the clerk to do it, Mr. Clerk.
The substitute motion was a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Willis, seconded by Councilmember Khalid, to hold this legislation
No, not just to hold it, but hold it to the next meeting.
to the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay, you have the floor.
I still have a question.
Go right ahead.
And I would have the question even if it was held. I want to know, why do we have to have outside counsel for claims and judgments against officers and employees?
So, by way of background, can I address it?
Yes.
So basically, this is falling in line with a practice that was in place under Fulton County. As you know, we have had a number of instances where the costs borne by taxpayers for outside legal action has been exorbitant. So I wanted to bring something that puts some parameters around that. That's what this attempts to do.
Okay. So it puts parameters around it, but we would have to go outside for counsel and not use our internal counsel, which would cost more money since we have a funded legal department.
So as you know, in those instances, it could be our insurance, it could be our attorney, but there have been instances where there would be a conflict, and that's when that is when this would kick in. So it wouldn't be all instances.
I see. So, and I have to admit that I did not read the ordinance. So the ordinance specifically says that. Does it say that in those instances where whatever, that's why we get outside counsel?
Now, I don't know that it's specific. Can you speak to that? I don't think the language is written in that way.
Ms. Rao, let me let Mr.
Attorney Hyman.
Yeah. Mr. Hyman, we want to speak to that.
Yes. Councilman McGill, the plan of defense was modeled after, in some respects, Fulton County. And what can happen in the course of a government, you can have, whether it be an employee or an elected official, they may need representation, and there may be a conflict to where the in-house attorney, due to bar rules or other rules, cannot represent that particular elected official or employee. And so they will have to seek outside counsel for the representation. And this just gives parameters and information on how to go about doing that. And it also establishes what I would call the ceiling in terms of what outside counsel can charge. So you'd have an idea as to what the legal fees would be. Also, per Councilman Khalid's request, I did run this ordinance by GERMA. And so GERMA's had a chance to chime in. So basically it reads that to the extent that either I couldn't represent you or GERMA couldn't represent you, then you have the ability to get outside counsel.
Okay, I'm good. All right, thank you.
Ms. Willis, you're in the queue.
Oh, one of the reasons I asked to defer this ordinance to the next meeting, because I wasn't sure if it had enough votes to pass, because I know in speaking to several of my colleagues, people had additional questions and concerns. So I just didn't, I think this is necessary to have in place, but I do want to see something in place. So that's the only reason I'm asking, can we just defer this to the next meeting so that we can get all our questions and concerns out?
Okay, Mr. Khalid, we'll end with Mr. Khalid. Mr. Khalid.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry. It sounds like there's a sufficient enough amount of confusion about the ordinance that we probably should hold it. Mr. Hyman, you said in the event that GERMA couldn't represent, what is the case in the event that GERMA wouldn't represent?
That I don't know. That just have to be taken up on a case by case basis, but it's written in the ordinance that, for example, say that in the contract between GERMA and the city that they don't provide that type of coverage for that matter. Say, for example, they may claim a reservation of rights and say, you know what, we're not going to represent you. Then they later on to change their mind. There's several different instances that could occur. But at least under the ordinance, it's written that going to outside counsel would have to first, I'd have to be conflicted, and then either GERMA would have to not provide coverage, and then you would be seeking outside counsel for city representation.
Right, and so I think this is a very important distinction that we should probably have a little bit more detail from GERMA about. The last time that we paid for an attorney, we did it without the advice of counsel and against the recommendation of GERMA. The case was offered, and GERMA didn't say that they couldn't, they said that they wouldn't. And so when an agency with that much experience says that they won't touch it, I'm not sure that we should touch it with taxpayer dollars.
Well,
Okay.
can I have a point of order?
No, we got to move. I said he would be the last one.
But as we have a motion on the floor, we have
That's
a
correct.
second.
Going to the motion. We're about to vote on Ms. Willis's motion. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
My substitute motion was to hold it to the next.
Yeah, okay. We vote on a substitute motion. Let's vote.
It's a substitute motion by Mayor Pro Tem Willis, seconded by Councilmember Khalid, to hold this item to the next meeting. Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Nay.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Nay.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Nay.
That item to hold is approved 4-3.
Okay, next item, please.
Next item is item 45, second reading, and request council approval of an ordinance creating a Trayvon Wilkins Memorial Pedestrian Fund, amending Title I Administration, Chapter 8, Budget of the City Code of Ordinances to restrict school zone traffic camera revenues for pedestrian safety improvements. Sponsored by Councilmember Khalid.
Mr. Khalid, go ahead.
Thank you very much. A friend of mine gave me some advice this week that, that said an important part of being a leader is being able to compromise and find common ground. I think the response from our citizens has been overwhelming, and I would ask us to please not ignore it. There is $3.5 million in this fund. And the cameras are going to get turned on. They've been turned off. The only reason the revenue actually slowed down is because we just stopped writing tickets. So there's more coming. There's probably another million coming. If we're doing $1 million a quarter, which it appears we are, there's more money coming. I am willing to accept a friendly amendment that the current fund asks for 100% of the funds. I'm willing to take 25%, $1,750,000. But could we spend some portion of this money providing speed bumps in neighborhoods where people have requested them? Thank you.
Mayor,
Okay,
I would like to make
That's second, if that's a motion.
It's been second, and
I would like to make a
Mr. Baker.
substitute.
Excuse me. It's been seconded by Mr. Baker. Now we're in discussion.
I had a substitute motion. When can I make it?
You can make it now.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. I would like to make a substitute motion to table this legislation and revisit it once we have and revisit it at a later date.
What's your later date?
Well, one of the things, Mayor, we're not going to have to do is continue to have to put up signage. And
I'm with that. I just want to know, you said a later date. I mean, be more specific.
I mean, if we table it, it can always come back, correct, Mr. Hyman? I mean, I'm just laying it on the table, meaning that we could bring it back at a later date. I mean, I'm not giving a specific date. I'm just asking that we table it because the city manager has already made recommendations on how we should spend this. And
it's it's equitable.
So let me ask this, Mr. Clerk, when is the third reading scheduled if it does not go through today?
I don't want it to come back to the next council meeting. I don't want to give it, I just want it, when I say table it, I just want to table it.
You mean table it during this meeting?
No, I want to move that we table it and just put this on hold. I don't have a specific.
I don't understand that motion.
So when I have put things on the table and when I put things, for example, my parent accountability ordinance is still on the table.
Okay, I see what you're saying. You want to put it up another time. You can do that. So your motion is the table.
Yes.
Okay. All right. There a second?
Mr. Chair, yeah, discussion.
Yeah.
On this, we're talking discussion on the substitute, the table. That's
The
what
current ordinance, the current motion on the floor, I'm sorry.
the current motion on the floor is the table. That's the substitute motion.
There was a second for that?
There was no second for it,
That's
so.
not it. Mr. Clerk, did I get a second on that?
You did not get a second on the table, not yet.
All right, well, that fails for lack of a second.
So,
Go to the main motion, and I have Ms. Rao, Ms. Gums, and Mr. Khalid.
so point of clarity, I don't understand why we're voting on this at all, because we voted on item number 42 on the consent agenda, which ratifies basically the city manager's plan, which we voted on 2 different times. The only addition was that human traffic education was added, but all those things that Councilman Khalid is asking for is in the city manager's recommendation. So why we keep voting on the same thing? I don't understand.
Okay, Ms. Gums?
And that was my same questions that Councilwoman Rowell addressed. And then also too, when we're making this pitch, saying that we want to take this funding, and I keep hearing about the old national sidewalks or speed bumps in certain neighborhoods, how are we equitably distributing? Because there are a lot of neighborhoods that are in need of the same type of, speed tables and speed bumps that I don't necessarily know if we will all be able to handle. So how are we going to be equitably distributing this money to address these needs? There's right now several requests for speed bumps that are in the hopper for a lot of the subdivisions that are over on, District 2. And I don't know about, the other areas, but how are we discussing, or how are we going to make arrangements for this money? I just keep hearing, national sidewalks and speed bumps. And I do understand that they do have, pedestrian issues, but what about how we're going to be able to accommodate the rest of the area?
Okay, Mr. Khalid?
Okay, so first I want to say, I have never said that the money would just go for Old National. I do happen to be a councilman in that area. I've been championing this issue in my newsletter. So there's probably a disproportionate amount of Old National readers of my newsletter who are here. But I am clear that this is for the entire city, in the same way that the Blighted Property Fund was for the entire city. That was only $150,000. And we ran through that, and we still have a list from around the city. If there, what I would ask for those who are watching the meeting now, you can just type in the chat where you would like to see a speed bump. We can have an impromptu list now from the people. I think that $3.5 million is more than enough for everybody to get a speed bump wherever they want. If we did some smaller portion, if we did half or 25%, then we would probably have to come up with a list very similar to the one that we have for the Blighted Property Fund, which still has dozens of houses across the city because we just did not put money in the fund. And then lastly, I would like to ask a question of our city manager, Tammy Sadler-Jones. Is she available?
I am available.
Okay, thank you. It was stated that what I had asked for was in your proposal. What I had asked for were speed bumps, crosswalks, and sidewalks. What How many dollars are being spent in your proposal for those things?
Well, my particular memo that I provided to the city council doesn't break it down by a dollar figure. It's a comprehensive list of recommendations to you all on uses for the money.
Okay, I did not see.
So I
that
can't
listed
answer
as
that
one.
question regarding.
I did not see sidewalks, crosswalks, or speed bumps listed as one of the recommended uses in your memo. Is that correct?
That is correct. You are correct. I
Okay.
did not specifically state that.
So if it's not specifically stated in your memo, then I just want to correct the record. Your memo is recommending $0 for those things because it's not listed as one of the things. And so I just want that stated for the record.
But I do want to be clear, Mayor Edwards, my recommendation was presented to the council in advance of Council Member Khalid's recommendation. So I just want to make sure that the public is aware of that. Thank you.
As usual. Okay. Now I have Ms. Willis, Ms. Rao, and I'll end with Mr. Reed.
I think you had Mr. Baker before me.
Yes, I did. Mr. Baker, you were off my screen. You got off some kind of way. Mr. Baker, go right ahead. Dr. Baker, come on.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'll be real brief. I just wanted to point out that, first of all, thank you, City Manager Tammy Sadler-Jones, for clearing that up. And thank you, Councilman Khalid, for asking that question. I think it was two of my colleagues who stated earlier that, we would be redoing something that we already agreed upon. So it's clear that this is not something that our city manager has already recommended. And it would be disingenuous or unfair to the public to have people believe that we've already taken this action and hide behind that. So if we don't take this action, then it just won't happen until we bring it back again. Right. And I think that it's not something, when we table things, they go away to die. And we know that. So I just ask that people support this because it's for a good cause and we all need it. And we can figure out, even if we have to come back forward with, something from the city manager, some type of direction as to how we will find equity amongst those funds, we should first start by acknowledging that they're needed, just like reparations.
Okay. Thank you so much. We'll have Ms. Willis, Ms. Rao, and then we'll end with Mr. Reed.
The city manager brought back recommendations to this council that is inclusive of public safety and also traffic calming devices that is going to benefit everyone, all residents in the city, citywide. And so public safety, inclusive of police, fire, and they're making traffic calming improvements in all of our school zones. We all agreed to that, and I just think we should just move on. And at a later date, I do agree with Councilmember Gomes. Speed bumps are being requested throughout the city, citywide. And there is no way that we're going to be able to be equitable and decide where the speed bump should go. And so, do we want to even put ourselves in that position when we have an ordinance that says that the city does not take onus in financing speed bumps? So, I think that the city manager has made an equitable recommendation that we, in majority, have agreed to, and we just need to move on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rao. You're next, and we'll conclude with Mr. Reed.
I just wanted to get clarification from the city manager based on your recommendation and looking at the state law, which was specific. Would all of those things fall in that Councilman Khalid has recommended?
From my understanding, they may fall in because those could be considered safety improvements within school zones. Let's see.
Is it limited to schools? Is it limited to school zones? Because I know we just did some traffic calm. Okay.
No, it's not limited to school zones.
Okay.
It basically says, and this is OCGA 40-6-163D15. The money collected and remitted to the governing body pursuant to subparagraph B of the paragraph 3 of this subsection shall only be used by such governing body to fund local law enforcement or public safety initiatives. So, I mean, we could, include speed humps under that, I guess, heading of public safety initiatives. Without looking a little bit further into it, I mean, I would say if council has a desire to do that, then I certainly don't have a problem amending my memo to you all.
Thank you. If the speed, the traffic calming in terms of speed bumps could be included, I think that's a reasonable compromise. We have had these issues across the city, and it just will be an additional category. I think the sidewalks, we probably need to leave that in the public works category because of the expense of sidewalks. But those things that we can implement broadly across the city, I support.
Okay. We'll conclude with Mr. Reeves.
Thank you, Dr. Rao. That's exactly where I was going with that, and I would agree to that. And also, too, is Public Works available? Could you just, for the edification of the public, give the average cost of the installation of a speed bump?
Mr. Valenzuela, are you here or someone?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It really varies. As you know, we have a full toolbox for traffic calming, and with Public Works, we really not recommend it for speed bumps, but we do recommend other gadgets that in the toolbox, which was approved under the traffic calming ordinance back a couple of years ago. Each location, it varies from $5,000 to $25,000. So we have different kind of elements that we can softly mitigate traffic speeds on our schools. My recommendation will be to follow the traffic calming and follow the ordinance and select the best option for each location, which is unique.
Okay. Thank you.
Reed, you still have the floor.
Okay, that's all I needed was the average cost. Thank you.
Mr. Adams, would you restate the motion?
Yes, this is the main motion. This was a motion by Councilmember Khalid, second by Councilmember Baker, to amend the legislation, section 1-8003, municipal budget policy, and strike 100% of all fines and fees and replace with 25% of all fines and fees, etc.
Okay.
My hand is up, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I closed the discussion out, Mr. Dr. Baker. Were you? I acknowledge you doing discussion. You with me, Mr. Baker? I acknowledge you when you're on discussion.
I understand, sir, but it's my belief that I'm able to speak twice on an issue. Some of us are able to speak as long as we want to and multiple times. And this is my first time ever asking to speak twice.
Order, Mayor.
That's not, Ms. Willis, let me handle this. It's at the purview of the chairman. Now, if I said that Mr. Reed was last and then we were going to the vote, that's what we did.
So we're not allowed to speak twice on the subject. I just want to clarify.
Can he please speak?
You can speak twice in discussion.
Order, Mayor.
Hold the point of order. That's another privilege of the chair. But I just want you to understand where I'm coming from, Mr. Big. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you or anything. But during the discussion, if you want to come back while the discussion is open, you're absolutely correct. But I closed the discussion out on Mr. Reed.
Clear.
Huh?
I'm clear. I yield.
Okay. All right. Your point of order is what, Mr. Willis?
I'll withdraw it.
Okay. All right. Now, so where are we? The vote?
Yes, we have a motion and a second.
Okay, let's vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Ms.
Is
Brown?
this just for the traffic calming?
No, I'll restate the motion. So motion by Councilmember Khalid, seconded by Councilmember Baker to strike the language, section 1-8003 municipal budget policy, letter I, Trayvon Wilkins Memorial Pedestrian Fund, instead of 100% of all fines, fees, and judgments resulting from traffic camera enforcement. Councilmember Khalid offered 25% of all fines, fees, and judgments resulting from traffic camera enforcement minus contracting municipal court costs shall be allocated by the city finance officer to a restricted fund for pedestrian safety projects to be known as the Trayvon Wilkins Memorial Pedestrian Fund.
25. I'm torn. I support it. Can it work in concert? I just want to be, can it work in concert with what we have?
To the vote.
I got to abstain. I'm not clear.
You're abstaining. Do you have a conflict?
I'm unclear.
Okay.
I don't have a conflict, but my question is, my answer, can it work in concert?
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
I will withdraw my motion and if I can make a motion for 25% for traffic calming.
Well,
I'm fine with traffic calming.
Hold it. Who was the maker of the first motion?
Maker of the motion was Councilmember Khalid, seconded by Councilmember Baker.
And I don't have a second for that. I withdraw my second for that.
And I have a second for it.
Okay. All right. Mr. Allen, help me out with this. He withdrew his second. Mr. Khalid, you've made another motion, correct?
Yes.
Okay, it's got a second by Ms. Rao, right, Ms. Rao?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll open discussion on that.
So if I could, Mayor.
You can.
I just want people to have something. If we have 4 votes to limit it to traffic calming, which would still be speed bumps, but not necessarily sidewalks. I would love for sidewalks to be included. If we have 4 votes for sidewalks to be included, that would be great. 25% is going to be much less money. I think that we should focus on speed bumps. So hopefully we can get 4 votes to have this money spread across the city.
Okay. Anybody else in discussion?
Yes, sir. My hand is raised. I'm just waiting to be acknowledged. I don't want to.
Absolutely, Mr. Dr. Baker, go right ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you for acknowledging me. I just want to say, I think that anybody who's been paying attention to this ordinance understands that the request was for 100%. It didn't change to 75 or half. It went all the way down to 25%. And then now something that's needed throughout the city, regardless of where it's needed, speed humps or traffic calming devices, as well as sidewalks, are needed. And what Councilman Khalid or none of my colleagues acknowledged when it came to that $3.5 million is we aren't taking into account that school has been out for over 2.5 months. So that's why that number is where it is. And those cameras are going to go back up in the next couple of days when school starts. And the revenue is going to be generated even more. Why pass that burden on to our public, our constituents, when it comes to traffic calming devices in their own neighborhoods? We've been fighting for sidewalks, not just on Old National, but all across. And we as a city haven't been fighting for sidewalks because Fulton County was supposed to provide those sidewalks far before we became a city. So we're just trying to do what's right by the people. And they've overwhelmingly spoken on what they want to see these funds allocated towards. And I think that for you, Councilman Khalid, to back down away from sidewalks, which is much needed when we have people standing on grass waiting on buses to come. We have people early in the morning going to warehouse jobs, getting hit, and flowers all throughout our city on the side of the grass. Like, I think that we should believe in each other a little bit more for the vote to go down the line, because I believe that we had 4 votes for 25% for common devices as well as sidewalks. And I'll end with this. We have to move past our issues internally, because any time is a good time for a good idea, and it doesn't matter who it comes from. We just need to learn to do better by our constituents and stop some of the infighting based off these ideas, because I feel like if Councilman Khalid wouldn't have presented this, it would pass. I yield.
Okay, Mr. Adams, who do you have next in the queue? I think my queue's wrong.
Yeah, next in the queue is Councilmember Rao, Councilmember Gums, Councilmember Willis.
Okay, and we'll end with Councilmember Willis.
With all due respect, I think my effort was to get to a compromise. I'm also being realistic that the cost of sidewalks, that $3 million would be done on one street and it would not go very far. It would not cover our whole city. And I do respect Councilman Khalid's effort to address traffic calming. It's actually a need across the city. And I think this is an equitable way to do it. I think one sidewalk project would wipe out that money when our city manager has identified a number of needs that we have citywide that this money can be used for. So I do hope that we can at least earmark 25% of this money for traffic calming as presented by Mr. Valenzuela. So depending on what the situation, it would change. It doesn't necessarily have to be speed bumps, but it's some traffic calming. I think that is a reasonable compromise that we should all be able to get behind. But being realistic, the sidewalks, we have one project in the whole city.
Yeah. All right, Ms. Rao. I think Ms. Gums, were you next?
I withdraw, Mayor.
Okay, Ms. Willis.
This is not personal. This is about equitability. Number one, the issue was 100% of the revenues going to the traffic calming and sidewalks. That is correct. There's only one section in the city that's getting sidewalks, and there are other areas in the city that need sidewalks citywide. I think this is an excellent compromise for 25% to go to traffic calming, and this has nothing to do with conflict. This has nothing to do with inside fighting. This has nothing to do with who's presenting the ordinance, but there was an issue with 100% of the funding going to a specific cause when the city manager made equitable recommendations that would fit the city citywide. Thank you.
Mr. Adams, when I announced the last person, was Mr. Baker's hand up?
I did not see it.
I'm asking Mr. Adams.
I did not see it up.
Okay. Let me just add one thing that we need to probably take in consideration as we have this conversation. Mr. Hyman.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Is there an incurred liability? And I think we need speed humps, but is there incurred liability to having speed humps by the city in our residential area?
What would need to happen is that you would need to account for signage as part of your costs, because you need to let them know that they're about to hit a traffic calming device for the speed hump, whatever it is, so that they would have an opportunity to be put on notice and wouldn't have a claim for damage to the vehicle if they weren't aware. So in factoring in your speed calming device, you need to factor in signage.
Okay, good. Okay, let's vote, please.
Yes, this is a motion by Councilmember Khalid, seconded by Councilmember Rao, to approve 25% of all fines, fees, and judgments resulting from traffic camera enforcement for traffic calming devices. Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
That item was approved unanimously, 7-0.
Next item, please.
Next item is item 47. I'm sorry, item 46.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I want to make a motion that we go ahead and approve item number 46, request approval to apply for COPS hiring grant. Item number 47, request council approve to modify the T-Plus 2020-21. Item number 48, item number 49, item number 50, item number 51, item number 52, item 53, item 54, item 55, item 56, item 57, item 58, and item 59.
I don't agree. I don't agree.
Ms. Gilliard.
I've got comments.
No, well, I will get.
Second.
This is a motion I have to carry, man.
Okay.
Okay, it's properly moved in second. Now it's discussion. Ms. Gilliard, I would acknowledge you at this time.
And I'm gonna jump around for a little bit, but I'm gonna start out with something that Councilwoman Gums brought up that I agree with. I have a serious problem with the URA budget. And the reason why I have a serious problem with it is because of the equity or inequity in terms of the dollar amount and how much funding is going where. But at the same time, I understand that just about all of the facilities that came over to us was in really bad shape. So when I think about that, and I think about the fact that every district needs something, whether it be a little or a lot. And when I look at a roof for $2.9 million that is being budgeted, and I'm wondering why it's so high, and I understand that there is a single source company that's dealing with it, and it's supposed to only go up to a max of 1.7, but it's budgeted at 2.6. I really don't understand that. And then I went through every last one of these items, and that's why I call for us not to vote on all of them, because I looked at how much what district is getting. So the way that it is falling for the entire $9.5 million of all of the unallocated URA funds at one point in time. It changes so much, I don't even know what it is right now in terms of the budget. But to make a point, this is how it's falling. And a lot of it is because I know that out of the facilities, the biggest facility is in District 3. I know that. And I know that there are a lot of issues. And I know that one has a lot of facilities. And I know that there are a lot of issues. And that's how the money is falling. 5, 3, and then 2. And I understand because District 2 doesn't even have a fire station. I get that. Then District 5, and then District 5, has facilities and it's getting it too. Then the money starts really dropping off drastically when it gets to 3, 6, and 7. 7 has no park. I have 2. I started out of $9.5 million with only $788,000. It is down to $488 now. And one park that has absolutely nothing is getting nothing. And that's the park down the street at Cedar Grove, Mayor Edwards. And there are at least 5 subdivisions around that area that have nowhere to go, no amenities whatsoever. So I'm not getting how these allocations are occurring. And I do not want a sign in District 4 anywhere that says, oh, we've got this $9.5 million for URA. And then my citizens already know only $488,000 is being spent on us. There's a problem with that. How we fix it, I do not know, but I had to say this because it really gives me a lot of angst. I don't get it.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Gilliard. I have Mr. Khalid and then followed by Ms. Willard.
I'm gonna hit a couple points. First, I want to say, Mayor Edwards, I don't agree with this agenda. I don't like the way that you made it. I said as much in my newsletter. But I'm not the mayor.
Point of
This
order,
is your agenda.
not germane.
No,
this is,
go ahead.
Let me finish. This is your agenda and this is your meeting. And I think that some of us need to let you be the mayor and run your meeting. And it's becoming intolerable that other people are trying to run your meeting. Second, I am not sure, my first point of order is, I am not sure that we can call out 10 items and say that we're going to approve them together or not. That's a consent agenda. And you can't add things to a consent agenda. We would be making a consent agenda in the midst of an agenda. We approved these items individually.
Point of order, Mayor. This is not.
So I am not sure. My point of order is I am not sure that calling for 10 items is even legal. And I would like for our attorney to opine on that.
I got you, Mr. Khalid. Now, what is your point of order, Ms. Willis?
This is not germane. We have.
That's all I want to know is why is it not germane?
Because he is discussing whether or not my motion to approve these agenda items
is legal, right?
Are legal, or it should be on. Is this a consent agenda?
Okay, so let's fix that right quick, Mr. Hyman.
Yes, ma'am. The method in which you, or so you, what I mean by the council decides to handle the agenda item is within the board's purview.
That's right.
And just as you can decide to earlier defer 3 things at a time or do them 1 at a time, that's within the council purview. The key is that you get a chance to have discussion. It may not be as clear as to what you are having discussions on. And I think that's why oftentimes you do them 1 at a time. Particularly in this situation, you have varying URA that may address different subjects, but it's nothing illegal about it. But you may have a hard time keeping track of the various discussions as it relates to those individual items.
Right. So thank you. There's nothing wrong with and I'm not right or wrong, I don't care. There's nothing wrong with taking the 10 items invited and voting on it if he gets the second in the motion, right?
Yes, I mean, because you've identified on the agenda what the items are.
Right.
You'll get a second on them, and then you have discussion. And doing individual just would help for clarity for discussion, but it wouldn't even be anything illegal if you decide to handle them in group or in seriatim 1 by 1.
Okay, Mr. Khalid.
Right. My second point of order and my final point of order is I am not clear how we are. Well, let me start with Mr. Clerk. When was the last time we met as a URA board?
December 10th, 2019.
Thank you. So we have not met as a URA board in 6 months. It's my understanding that by law, we have to advertise a URA meeting, we have to adjourn this meeting, and then meet as a URA. I'm not sure how we're making millions of dollars of decisions in URA funding when our URA board has not met or even given public notice of a meeting in 6 months.
A year and a half.
Could you?
Okay.
A year and a half.
Hold up.
Yeah, all right, because 2020, God, that's just a lost year. A year and a half, 18 months. So could you opine on that, Attorney Hyman?
Before you do that, Attorney Hyman, let me get something corrected here. Mr. Adams, would you identify who the URA board is?
Yes, the URA board consists of the current city council, which is Mayor Edwards, and each member of city council.
Secondly, Mr. Corey, Mr. Adams, was it on the agenda for last month for us to have a URA meeting, but because Mr. Khalid and others did not want to have that June meeting, we did not have it?
Well, we need to have it.
Yeah, I know there was some discussion about trying to have a URA meeting, but as you stated, because of the recess in June, we did not have one.
Thirdly, let me say this. Mr. Khalid can like or not like this agenda. But the simple fact of the matter is this. Without having a meeting in June, this agenda became overpowering. It could have been worse than that, had I been able to take some of the things off the agenda. I want to also caution the people like that every time you defer something, it goes on the next agenda, along with other agenda items that are supposed to occur at the time. So now, Mr. Khalid, like it or not, I sometimes have to deal with the hand that's dealt me. And when we decide that we're not going to have a meeting, those things do not go away.
Point of order, Mayor.
What's your point of order?
There is a motion on the floor and it has been seconded for us to approve agenda items 46 through 59.
We're going to get to that motion.
This, what we're discussing, has nothing to do with nothing. It doesn't have anything to do with the motion and the second. We have a motion on the floor for us to approve items.
So acknowledge. Thank you very much. Ms. Rao, then we'll vote.
I wanted to remind everybody that, there have been discussion with the council to try to move on these items. We have 3 years from the time that URA was signed to move forward. We are also impacted by the pandemic in terms of being able to get contractors to move on this work. So going back and forth on this, we have not spent all the URA money. This is the first round. So there are more projects because we have more projects on the list. This is just the first round. And I wish somebody from Public Works can speak to that. These are the first rounds that they've done complete procurements on and have gone forth. That is it. We are not finished.
Let me do. I did not see Mr. Baker's hand raised. I'm going to allow Mr. Baker to speak, and then we're going to move on.
I can't speak again. You have not recognized me, and I've been in the queue from the time that you let Khalid go on with his rant.
I should be able to speak again.
Mr. Baker, let me stop here. Mr. Baker has not been given an opportunity to speak. Mr. Baker, go ahead and speak.
Oh,
thank you, sir, for allowing me. I would just like to say two things. As author of the URA legislation, it is difficult to share with District 7 when that was something that was told to me, a resource in order to get us apart, that the funds aren't available out of these millions of dollars to even start that. That's one thing. Second, since we're in discussion for the multitude of items, I think that it's negligent. Actually, before I even say that, a year and a half or over a year and a half for us not to have a meeting just because we took off last month, with all due respect, Mr. Mayor, that's not an excuse for us to not have a URA meeting in a year and a half because it didn't happen last month.
You missed my point, but go ahead.
No, I didn't. I clearly got it. I'm just saying that
you did not, but go ahead.
I mean, I have the floor. Yeah. I think that to say because we didn't have the meeting last month is an excuse for us never having a meeting in nearly a year and a half is, I mean, that's misleading. I also would like to say that for us to take those multitude of items and vote on them collectively is negligent for us as a body and as elected. I'm sure everybody that heard all of those items being read are like, what are we doing? And if we're going to just vote I'm going to abstain because I feel like it's negligent to do. I yield.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
I'm in the queue, Mr. Mayor.
Excuse me,
and other people have spoken twice.
Miss Gilliard, if you stop, it's in your favor what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Mr. Adams,
Yes, sir.
I understand that both Ms. Willis and Mr. Khalid have spoken twice. Am I correct?
Oh, that's not true.
No, I think Councilmember Willis has only spoken once, and
Okay. And
now they've offered a point of order multiple times, but that doesn't count towards their speaking.
okay, also that Ms. Gilliard has only spoken once, right?
That's correct.
All right, Ms. Gilliard.
Mayor, I have not spoken at all on this issue. I made the motion to approve it, but I have not spoken at all. I made a point of order, but I have not spoken at all.
Okay. Ms. Gilliard, let me do this. Ms. Willis and
Mr. Mayor, can I just say this? It
No,
is
no,
overwhelming for
no.
me
Ms.
for you to
Gilliard.
keep being interrupted. It's overwhelming for me.
Ms. Gilliard, I understand you. I understand you totally. Ms. Willis and then Ms. Gilliard. And thank you for that comment, Ms. Gilliard. Ms. Willis, you have the floor.
Yeah, I would like to move the previous question.
Is there a second to move the previous question?
So moved.
It's second by Raul O. Reeves one. All right, discussion. Hearing no discussion, let's vote on moving the previous question, Mr. Clerk.
Roll call vote to move the previous question. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gums.
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Definitely no.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
I abstain. The reason for my abstention is that I never got an answer from our city attorney about whether or not it was legal to make URA decisions without advertising and meeting as a URA in 18 months.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Baker.
Nay.
That item is approved. To call the previous question 4-3.
Call the previous question. Mr. Clerk.
Main motion.
Yes.
It's approval of items.
Restate the main
46.
motion. Restate.
When do I get to speak?
It's
When
the
someone
approval.
called the previous question, Mr. Gilliard, no. Go ahead.
The main
Oh,
motion
so I
was
don't get to speak now because of the previous question.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr.
Lord have mercy.
Go ahead. Mr.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
There's a main
Okay,
motion.
let me say this to you. If we can't get any better, then Mr. Adams, you're gonna start mooting these people, I'm telling you. So go right ahead and do the main motion.
Main motion is a motion by Councilmember Willis, seconded by Councilmember Rao, to approve items 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, and 59.
Have we had discussion on the main menu? Mr. Clerk,
Yes.
was there any discussion on the main motion?
Yes, we had discussion. There were several points of orders
Okay,
offered.
all right, let's vote.
Roll call vote, Councilmember Rao,
Yes.
Councilmember Gums,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis,
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard,
Absolutely no.
Councilmember Reeves,
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
I abstain because I'm not sure that this vote is legal.
Councilmember Baker.
Abstain.
Mayor,
Oh,
And
no,
I abstain.
Yeah,
And I abstain, sir,
Yeah.
sir,
Yes, sir.
because even if it is legal, I contend that it's negligent.
Okay. What's the vote, ma'am, sir?
It's approved. Four yeas, 1 nay, 2 abstentions.
Next item.
Mayor, I have a question.
What is your question, Ms. Willis?
I just want to ask if the city manager, if the attorney could let the council know. I posed this question of whether or not a URA meeting was necessary, and he said he sent out an opinion on that via email this week.
Okay.
And he explained why a URA meeting was not necessary to approve these projects. He gave the perfect explanation this week. So if he could just let the council know, and we can move on what date he sent that email out, so they can go back and check their emails, then they will have a full understanding of why a URA meeting was not legal. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead,
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
To piggyback off what my colleague just said, I think that I just want to bring people back to the inception of this ordinance and note that this is the reason why in the initial ordinance, I contended that it should be a citizen-driven board because of our inability to come to a consensus on things like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Baker. Mr. Clerk?
I
Yes,
have
sir.
a comment.
I'm
I have
sorry.
a comment.
Let me get Ms. Gilliard. Ms. Gilliard, go right ahead.
I really, really am very disturbed about the URA budget, how we are allocating money, how it constantly changes, and how there is no equity. And I am going to continue to say that because we are paying over $900,000 a month to pay it back until we start generating revenue. And I think it is extremely unfair for citizens to have to contribute their tax dollars to go towards that, and they're getting peanuts out of it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gilliard. Next item.
Mr. Mayor, the next item was item 60, which my understanding that item needs to be held or pulled from the agenda pending a public hearing.
And whose request was that?
That was per staff planning as well as, I believe, the city attorney's office.
Okay, City Attorney, you don't want to expound on why you want to pull this for the record?
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, for the record, I had a conversation with CDRA, and they indicated that ordinance.
Excuse me, hold up. Common Leader, your mic is hot. Okay, go ahead.
I had a council with the CDRA department, and this ordinance hadn't had a chance to go to the planning, and that's a prerequisite. They hadn't had a chance to go to the planning commission yet, so that's a prerequisite for it coming to us.
And it was a requirement, right?
Exactly.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion. Hello?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Did we have to have a motion on this, on the other thing?
No, they're first read.
They're both first read.
Okay. Well, we have a motion to adjourn on the floor. Second by Ms. Wild. Discussion.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
I have a substitute motion, Mr. Mayor. That we go into executive session for real estate.
Okay. Is there a second for that?
Can we have a break? I need a break.
No, can we get a second? There's a second. Let's deal with the second first.
Second.
Hold it. Let's restate the second, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, the substitute motion was a motion to go in executive session for real estate. That was made by Councilmember Baker, second by Councilmember Rao.
Okay. Let's vote.
Roll call vote. Councilmember Rao.
Yes.
Councilmember Gomes.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Willis.
Yes.
Councilmember Gilliard.
Yes.
Councilmember Reeves.
Aye.
Councilmember Khalid.
Yes.
And then Councilmember Baker.
Aye.
Before doing that, I would like to have a little 10-minute recess if it's okay with the council.
Thank you.
And that would bring us back, Mr. Clerk, at what time?
We can round it up to 6:35.
Okay.
Point of order.
What is your point of order?
Yes, sir. We don't normally do this with that. I mean, we don't normally take a vote, but I want this meeting over as soon as possible, like everybody else. And I think that we should always take a vote as opposed to just saying it's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. So duly noted. Let's be back at what time?
The executive session will begin at 6:35.
See you all at 6:35.
What time is it now?
6:23.
Oh, okay. Thank you.